All right, good morning, and welcome to Investing Tuesdays. It's a chilly morning right here in Nairobi. From wherever you're watching us from, karibu sana. Of course, remember if you're watching on Facebook to click on that share button so that at least our friends and everybody else who's watching can get to learn. So welcome back again to Investing Tuesdays. Our hashtag is Investing Goes Digital. Just to inform you that even in these challenging times, you have no excuse not to invest. Why? Because digitally you can at the comfort of your home on your devices. All right, so very much to welcome you now. Today we have a very interesting subject, I tell you. This is so common because from everybody, from the villager to the town person, I am sure you have ever heard of something like a Charma, is it? And that's the reason why we're going to have a discussion today on investment opportunities for Chamas, I tell you. They are an opportunity by themselves. And so today we have an amazing panel, but I'm not hosting alone. I want to introduce my co-host who's going to tell us what's going on. But before we get to know who we have, last Investing Tuesdays we had, which we coined Inspiration Tuesday, we had an amazing guest here who inspired us. We were left wowed up. And I want you to just take a look at what you missed in the previous time. And I hope my technical team is set for that. So let's check what you missed up.
Our people out there come to NSC, invest here, and today we'll be telling them how they can invest easily with even in leadership through NSC.
When is the best time to start looking at his future and start investing?
Go back to your 20-year-old self. Did you ever see yourself where you are today?
I was washing people's clothes, shaving people, taking photos, and that's how I raised my fees.
Success is a culmination of the long hours of hard work, perseverance, the criticism, the frustrations, and the risks that we take.
I have done over 15 businesses that failed, you know.
Yes.
At one point, I lost 5 million on when I was doing a real estate deal. And I said I would never do real estate again.
I've had so much depth, so much wisdom in terms of the knowledge and experience that they've been sharing.
You don't have to have all this money to start investing.
And let me tell you, Kenyans, we have an opportunity with NSC. You know, sometimes you see NSC is for big people. No.
Yeah.
All right, there you have it. And of course, if you missed that conversation, it's still on our social media handles. That's YouTube, Facebook as well, so that at least you can get inspired and get on your journey on investing. I want to introduce my co-host who's also going to tell us who we have today on set. Emily, good to see you.
Good to see you, Tumaina.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
All right.
My name is Emily Keegan from NSC, and I'm glad to be hosting a panel of 3 directors.
Wow.
To my immediate right, we have Dr. Mr. Patrick Wagenyo, who's the director at the Kenya Association of Investment Group.
Yeah.
Then next to him, we have Mr. Pius Mushiri, who's the managing director of Nabo Capital.
Yeah.
And to my far right, we
Yes.
have Madam Josephine,
Yes.
Koech, director of Amalgamated Charma Limited.
Amazing panelist. You're right here. And of course, it's good to see you back, Pius, who is, let me call him a member of our Investing Tuesdays. And so at this particular time, gentlemen and lady, I would like to give you all an opportunity to at least tell us from your organization in less than a minute what you do, and so that at least the viewers can get to understand who we have on the panel in detail. So I'll start with you, Pius. Please introduce yourself by, of course, your organization and what you do exactly.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and in the company of great minds. At Nabo Capital, I'm the managing director, and we do the best job in the world, making people wealthy. That's the simplest and the most enjoyable job I think you can do. We take 1 shilling and make it 1 shilling and 20 cents, and we continue with our journey. So we'll be speaking more about how we do it and looking forward. Thank you.
Wow, making people wealthy, that's a nice one. Let me get to you, Josephine, as well. Could you kindly tell us what you do from your organization?
Thank you. My name is Josephine Chepkoech, Director ACL, that's Amalgamated Charma Limited. This is an amalgamated from the word amalgamated, We bring small Chamas together and invest in a big way. As we start by defining what is a Chama. Chama, this is just a group of people who've come together to pull resources together. Amalgamated Chama now looks at all those Chamas and to invest with them in a big way. That a small investment that, the big investment that one Chama cannot do, we do it as Chamas. So we bring together Chamas to invest in a big way.
Wow.
Thank you.
Lovely, lovely. I love that. And then we can cross over to Mr. Patrick as well. What do you do in your organization?
The Kenya Association of Investment Groups really is a body, corporate, but with a free interest to support with the capacity building. I think that's the better word of Chamas. We recognize that and define Chamas as welfares, merry-go-rounds, body corporate entities, companies and partnerships that are at different stages of being ready to invest. So we do play the middle ground of capacity development from skills, developing their policy abilities, ability to develop plans, and just bringing some discounts towards them through corporate entities. We support the Charma to grow, in other words. Yeah. And I'm Patrick Omeya. Good.
Good to see you, Patrick. And it's amazing that at least there are support groups as well for the groups that exist. I am looking forward to this amazing conversation because I am sure I told my mother she has to check this out because, you know, she belongs to several chamas, you know, and I told her, you know, maybe you're not going in the right direction. And so we want to really see how better they can even become by themselves. Emily, I don't know whether you belong to a chama or whether you're going to be converted after this. But anyway, I want to throw this to you now so that at least you can start us off.
Okay, to answer your question, Maina, I used to belong to one. But from the insights I'm going to get, probably I'll go back.
You can go back or start one. Anyway,
yes,
go on.
Yes. Okay, probably to start us off, Mr. Patrick, you could tell us, probably give us an overview of how Chamas have grown over the years to become one of the ways funds can be pulled together to do great things.
Good. I think the notion of a Chama is really something emerging from our normal way of life. It is not a foreign thing to us. Pulling effort together, be it social, which is the primary source, and lately economic, which has become a new way of building chamas, has been really part of the cultural framework for various cultures across Africa. And when we narrow down to Kenya is our way here. So it's very normal to find groups in the rural areas, initially just women coming together to do what we call here merry-go-round, pull money together, give someone, then pull money again, give the other person until the whole circle would be complete. That was the initial view of the effort, as it were, and from what we've developed in right now. Then it changed and mutated into supporting specific projects. I remember as early as 80s, women in Kano Plains used to put money together to build a permanent house for one of them to avoid flooding. So they would do for you a property that has a foundation above water. Those were 80s. In the present day, that has become into what we call investing in different forms. So chamas have evolved from social welfare entities from which they were formed either from one of the many social strings, schoolmates, former schoolmates, people who are in a wedding somewhere, cleared their wedding and now continued meeting and discovered they could do more. Former workmates, people from the same village, and I know some have worked for a company that was a Charma before, and they are now serious billionaires, yeah. So it's one of those things that has been part of our life. Today, Charmas are being formed among people who don't know each other, but they are forming them as investment groups, and they are registering them as investment groups, either as a company or as a partnership. So that is really the evolution. But you will notice that even that Charma merry-go-round, or in any form that it starts, by the time it has hit around 10 to 8 years, they lose the initial hit, and they now have to find a new direction. So there's a trend forming where they now need to move from those disorganized, if I may call them, to slightly more organized bodies that are now looking at an investment as an interest, because you've been saving money for so long, and now that stress of continuing to save falling. And what she started talking about, where a Chama has $1 million bob in the account, but they don't know how to invest it. So part of what we did was to actually create Amalgamated to support that. That's how we are combined here.
Okay, probably
Yes.
just to add, are you able to share with us the statistics on how many Chamas we have in Kenya, approximately how many, and in terms of resources, how much is in circulation when you talk of Chamas?
About 2 years ago, perhaps 2.5 years ago, we've not checked this during the Corona period, there were 300,000 registered in those various forms. That includes the welfares that are doing what you call table banking. And they were holding slightly over 300 billion shillings.
Wow.
So the amount of money in the bank accounts across the country, in the names of a Chama, a welfare, a this or that form of it, is quite enormous.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Thank you.
A lot
Well,
of
I think
money.
I know. You know, I think what I've picked from him is that they have a cycle. If there is nothing else to interest them apart from just going round and round, they sort of like get to a natural death. I think it's boring sometimes if there's nothing enticing. And I think that's why we're having these conversations, because maybe their chamas are about to now get to that level. Now they can rethink that and see what can they do with investment. I can't wait to hear an example of that sort. I know, Josephine, you have a question for our only panelist lady here to, tell us about her story. And so what's the question, Emily?
When did you first join a Chama, Josephine?
I know.
Wow. If we talk about Chamas, we even started when we were in primary school. And you remember during Moi's time, there was this milk, free milk.
Wow.
And we used to have a group of ourselves in class that today we are giving you this package, the number of packs you take home, tomorrow another one. It generated like, today this household is consuming milk. That is just a basic. Why Patrick said we are all in Chamas in a way, but what translates to something is different. So I came to 2014 when we joined Amalgamated Charma Limited. But before, I was in a Charma, small Charma within an institution where I was working. And basically, we were just doing household. We are meeting the needs of our household. We contribute and buy some household items. And that was known by the women. When you talk about Chamas, it's about Charma, yes. But women who are in the rural areas, or even in our own setup, we are just contributing to buy something. Those are short term. Until I came to Amalgamated Charma Limited, when I really saw Charma is a big thing, and it's not a women issue, it is actually for men. So you even find the Charmas we have, majority are men.
Wow.
So the Charma concept is not gender. It's not a gender issue. It is actually for men and women. And it depends on what you want to do. Since 2014, I've been in Amalgamated Charma Limited, and we've really done so much. And this is because of the structures put in place. This is because of the governance, where it keeps you going. You know, you go to a Charma where there is no vision, you'll tend to pull out. But for Amalgamated Charma Limited, I've seen this is a future. This is a place where I get ideas. If I want to put money, I know my money is safe. The structures put in place, we meet. There is that communication to the shareholders. There is that governance issues, transparency. Talk of meetings. You have scheduled meetings in a year, and you communicate what is happening. So being in a Charma for that long, it's because of what is happening. What are the structures in place? and having assured that the money that I've kept somewhere is making, profit, it's multiplying, and not multiplying because it's just sitting in a bank, because we are investing in other avenues.
Oh,
Yes.
Thank you so much, Josephine. So I'll go to Pius. Now, you can tell us, in the financial markets, what opportunities are there for Chamas?
But just before Pius speaks, Pius is going to now solidify something here, I want to really relate with what Josephine has talked about, because I just wanted to make this as personal as I can. Okay. Because in my personal experience, I would see new plates come, new cups. There used to be a drawer that you don't touch until visitors come, especially during those Chamas days is when those things would come. And I think Josephine was trying to point out on that. But Josephine said that now, where she is now, they have done a lot. And I just wanted her to just point one or two so that now Pius can pick from there. Because maybe they may feel they have done a lot and maybe there's still opportunities that are pending. So would you care to give us an example, one or two? I know there are many. Just one or two of what now you have done that has evolved now from the plates and the cups,
Thank you. Since we were doing those small things, and what small investment means, that investment that cannot take you to another level. Talking about a long-term investment that you give yourself 10 years before you break even. Yeah. And this we've done the real estate and private equity. Whoa. So private equity is co-investing with other investment companies. Okay. That private equity a small Charma cannot do. A single Charma may not do. But when you come together, you do so much. We come to real estate. We've bought a land. And this land is not a small land. We have 600-acre land somewhere.
600.
So a small Charma may not do that much.
Yeah.
So we identified the areas that we can do, and that is now private equity and real estate.
Lovely. I think you can post it at that, because now when it comes to matters equity, all that thing, Pius is here to help us out. So Pius, I think there was a question drawn to you on a bit of opportunities that exist for Chamas and all that. And I don't know, maybe you could start by telling me, do you belong to a Chama? I have had men as well, a part and parcel of it. Yeah, and Mr. Patrick was shaking his head saying there are so many,
This is a setup, eh? I think, as my co-panelists have said, it's impossible to be in this country and not belong to a Chama, at least at some point in time in your life. And I think we're going to touch on what really is a Chama, because I think there are many definitions of a Chama, so I'm just roughing things up here. But let me give an example. One of the Chamas that I belong to, there's a time I told my wife that the next deal we will do it will be 100 million shillings. And I did not know, words are powerful. I met someone who had a very nice piece of land in Nanyuki. It was 100 acres. And they were selling 1 acre for 1 million. And that worked out nicely, 100 million. I said, this must be it.
This is it.
So I committed to it, and I didn't have money in the bank.
Okay.
So I had 3 months. Yeah. And first of all, I needed to pay a deposit of 10 million. Yeah. And that 10 million was non-refundable. After 90 days, if I didn't execute successfully, I was going to lose my 10 million. Yeah. And I remember a couple of nights tossing and turning, wondering how it feels to lose 10 million shillings.
Yeah. That's an amount.
And as an investment professional, my work is to look at assets and turn them into something that is generating and something that is growing. Yeah. And I put together a plan around it, and I called 10 people, 10 of my friends. Actually, not 10. I called 3 of my friends, and I asked them I want 10 people
Yeah.
And they called their friends, and we were 10, and we sat in a boardroom, and we said, this is the value proposition. Everybody puts 10 million shillings, and the land is ours, and this is the value creation agenda. And on the 90th day, the last 2 weeks, we mobilized 63 million shillings.
That's quite
and
some
that
percentage.
helped us to bridge the gap. And that tells you why Chamas exist. This Charma was formed specifically based on a project.
Yeah.
And Chamas exists, and I believe this very strongly, to help individuals to achieve or to make investments in lucrative assets that they would otherwise not be able to access in their own individual capacity.
Wow.
If a Charma cannot meet that criteria, it is just a matter of time. People will just fall away.
Yeah, that's true.
So we met our objective, and we are still here. Opportunities. To your second question on opportunities.
Yeah.
One of my friends told me that you can become a multi-billionaire by just selling oranges. Opportunities abound everywhere, anywhere, especially in Africa. There's glaring gaps everywhere. So there are so many opportunities for Chamas and for individuals. The question is, how do you narrow down to opportunities that are suitable for Chamas and for your Chama? That is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
My observation, my profiling of in Chamas, because I do try to help them. Chamas are made up of 99% of people who are successful in their own careers. Yeah. They're lawyers, they're doctors, they're engineers. You know, they've done their own stuff, and they have an 8 to 5 o'clock job at minimum.
Yeah.
Majority. So I tend to then guide them towards what we call financial markets rather than what we call operational assets. Because financial assets do not, let me give an example. The only way to explain it is to give an example.
Yes, go ahead.
But do you know that Centum is actually a Charma?
A Chama. Hey. When Patrick nods, I know he knows them because he holds them all.
When we got independence, there was an observation that investment in this country was an exclusive activity of a few elite people, the whites, and very few Kenyans, elite Kenyans.
Yeah.
And the then president, Jomo Kenyatta, felt very strongly that we needed an investment vehicle for Kenyans. So that Kenyans are not left behind in investment. If you don't invest, you can't secure your future.
True.
So he gave blessings to those few elite Kenyans to go around the country and to mobilize funds to start this investment vehicle. And they put together $26,000. 1967.
Wow.
$26,000. I know you probably have that kind of money in your bank account, but it was so much money.
Then it was in the billions. Right?
Yes, it actually needed to be, the president needed to give a special consent for some of that not to be returned. But to cut the long story short,
yes,
Centum is the only company in the Nairobi Stock Exchange that was listed from day one.
Wow.
Because of that history.
Yeah.
And it has 39,000 shareholders who are the Charma members. In fact, people literally, the old generation never sell their shares in Centum. They are framed in, somewhere and put in houses. Yeah. Because that was their Charma. That was the investment vehicle for them.
Yeah.
And what opportunities did Centum see then? Centum, at that time, multinationals were coming to set up in Africa, because not just Kenya had gotten independence, there were quite a couple of other countries. So there was a move, there was a buzz of multinationals coming to the continent to set up here. And Centum saw itself as, or positioned itself as a preferred local partner for these multinationals because they needed local partners. So that was the opportunity of that time.
Yeah.
And that's how it ended up having, you know, these multinational brands like Coca-Cola, General Motors, Aeon, Minette, and many other brands, NAS, Savea, and many other brands in its portfolio, and as their preferred local partner. So opportunities, that was the opportunity that rhymed with that vehicle then. There are opportunities for today. The vehicle that I went into, it was specifically to acquire a land asset.
Yeah.
So opportunities are everywhere. But however, coming back to Centum, so it positioned itself as such, and it invested in what you call financial assets. So they would take minority, what you call significant minority stakes in companies, and they would leave the strategic investor to lead the value creation agenda.
Yeah.
You get?
Yeah.
Because you cannot be a master of everything.
Yeah, that's true.
You get? So that is how Centum has grown the original $26,000 to what it has today, about $720 million.
Wow.
My goodness. But, you know, before we jump to the next question, this one needs a moment of breathing in, you know? And, you know, I'm hoping I'm going to be the next friend in that Chama because, you know, it's important that we go there. I wanted to just jump into Mr. Patrick because I know he has listened through the opportunities that, you know, Josephine has presented and, of course, what we have heard about Centum and their journey. Patrick, from where you sit, are there, because now you see a lot of Chamas doing many things, are there some that you know people may not even know, but Chamas are actually doing these things?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's about putting money into productive use. In Kenya and in the villages, I've seen Chamas in farms, running farms.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
I've seen Chamas producing vegetables in a place where people don't produce vegetables. And the demand for vegetables in that place is very high. Sometimes the rural person might just feel like we don't have money to do this. So they don't do it. But now when you put them together, they are able to not only bring labor, but also bring the capital. So I've seen that. I've seen the common investment where literally every welfare is somewhere, a piece of land somewhere. I've seen a Chama that has grown a forest. And perhaps that is one that is worth highlighting.
Wow.
Because you buy a seedling for 10 bob. This South African pine, 6 years down the lane, it is worth 8,000 shillings. And an acre will take about 440. So you've spent about 40,000 shillings to initiate if you own the land. But if you didn't own the land, is 500,000 plus 40, so 540. But 6 years down the lane, you are discussing 8,000 by 4,000.
My goodness.
That is 16 million shillings upwards.
Good money.
It would bring it at 50%. So forests are some of those things that I have seen people do.
Yeah.
Simple. I mean, they didn't look at it like we have a lot of money. They look at it like we have land and we can do something. But the question of opportunities and what they do depend on where they are. Rural-based circles are doing things that are very different from the ones that are here are doing. But there's a very huge holding of ad hoc distribution of shares or counters, as you call them in the NSC. Chamas have quite a bit of those shares, but bought at the IPOs only, which is perhaps what you need to do more about is how do they participate continuously? Because of lack of information on how to buy continuously, they tend to buy at IPO and then and keep that. So if you hear about Charma has shares, it would be all the IPOs. Without knowing whether this is long-term or short-term, but they own it. The beauty about Charma is that they have something. You can organize what they have, even if it's wrong, than start teaching them from zero. And I think that makes our work very easy because now we are improving what they have.
Absolutely.
So they are in manufacturing. I have seen a few Chamas actually in manufacturing. There are a few Chamas in what you call agribusiness. All levels from the farm level to post farm level value addition.
Yeah.
They are doing small things there. I've met a Charma personally in Kirinyaga
Yeah.
that is in agribusiness, but they are now in agro processing. They are not in the farm. They are doing off the farm.
Okay. You know,
So,
Patrick, I know you see so many of them. I like the uniqueness, especially the forest one is quite catchy, because you know how much work do you have to do once you plant the trees. You know, honestly speaking,
Zero.
just one zero there, they will grow. You know, Emily, I don't know whether you feel like me, but from what they have spoken about, especially what Patrick has pointed out, is that if you belong to a Charma, and even if you're contributing the 200 bobs, there is still many opportunities. Because if you're buying seedlings, for example, and there's probably a lot of land that is just seated, and most of the people have such access, you can do a lot with that. If you're seated with friends who can chuck in $1 million, I'm looking at you, Pius, in a way, $1 million or so or more, then there are still other opportunities. So wherever you are, as a Charma, then you can think of opportunities around. As Patrick has put it across, even from villages, some will get together, do chicken farming together, all those kind of things, and get a lot of money out of that. Emily?
Yes. From Pius, actually, I've learned you need to have a goal and an investment plan. Then from Mr. Patrick here, I'm learning there are a variety of opportunities.
Absolutely.
So probably from Josephine, you can tell us the investment plan for our Charma. Does your Charma have an investment plan? Then the other question from what we learned from Mr. Patrick is, how do you choose the investment opportunity? Among the many opportunities that you have, how do you choose the best for you?
Oh, thank you. For one, the constitution of the board, we have expertise on different areas where the initial vision of the Charma. So we have people expertise on those particular identified investments. I talked about the real estate. I talked about the PE, the private equity. I didn't mention Charma Insurance. We also do the insurance.
Yeah.
So we have expertise in that area. And we have an admin who analyze the opportunities that come before us. So the in-house analysts do check the investment opportunities that is forwarded to us. And this is done by even the Charmas themselves. When they see an opportunity outside there, they forward. It comes from even reading from the news, the opportunities that are there. We read from the newspapers, but first it has to come to our in-house analyst. So among the investment opportunities, or rather the investment areas we've identified, we have a task force, and now constituting the expertise on that area. So we have a task force for insurance, we have a task force for PE, we have a task force for real estate. So when this opportunity comes, the in-house analyst do check, then forward to the task force. So the task force forward to the board. So the board look at it, and we approve at that level, because we've already passed through the levels of approvals from the expertise. Then now we present to the Chamas. Once we've actually seen the risk being small, of course there is no investment that doesn't have risk. So we look at the risk that is low, and we go into that business. So we have a structured way of approving an investment opportunity.
Okay.
Yep.
I think that's quite sufficient. What caught me is that she said they have a board. That means they have very good structures they have put in place. And I think because I have just peeped on social media, thank you so much, all of you, because there's so many questions coming thick and fast. I think it's the subject of the day is very touchy, because most people belong to Chamas, you know, so send them up. We're going to have a session on that. So maybe, Emily, we need to fasten our very few questions up, so that now at least we can be able to answer what people are asking. Let me throw this question to Pius. That what should an investment plan for a Chama entail? And, you know, what criteria should an investment, you know, Chama consider before deciding to invest in a particular asset class? So it's a bit of the plan, what it should entail, now that at least you have gone through that before, and just looking through considerations before deciding to invest in the assets that you have mentioned.
It's a broad question.
Yeah.
Investing without an investment plan is like going to war without ammunition.
I like that.
You will just fall flat.
You'll be
on the
neutralized.
ground.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
get, eh?
Yeah.
Investment is not an end in itself, it's a means to an end. And that's why you will hear me over and over saying, what is the aspiration of this Charma?
Yeah.
What is it that brings you together? What is that thing that you want this Charma to do for you that you cannot do it for yourself? That question is the most critical question. By the way, did you know that money market fund is a Charma?
Yeah. It's actually a Chama, eh?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Actually, let me put it appropriately for you.
Yeah.
All unit trust vehicles are Chamas. But it's what you'd call regulated Chamas.
Chamas. Or we can also say, in other words, they have a good name.
They're regulated. So
Like,
it's
you
just
know,
that
when you use the word like markets, you know, it sounds nice, but it's Chama.
it's Chama.
Patrick, I'm waiting
Because
for your nod because you know your mind. Excellent.
it's a Chama. So
Yes.
in other words, we're saying even the laws, the capital markets laws, they anticipated that the way to invest is through pulling resources
Absolutely.
into vehicles. And now, why do we have money market fund? We have fixed income fund. We have balanced fund. Yeah? We even have rates. You get it? It's because they all have unique aspirations.
Absolutely.
Isn't it? Eh?
Yeah.
So, let me give a project that I'm personally involved in
Yeah.
as an illustration. A couple of months ago, last year, someone approached me and said, what can we do for Boda Boda?
Yeah.
And the statistics shocked me because in 1 year, all the Boda Boda people, there are about 1.4 million Boda Boda people, all the 1.4 million Boda Boda guys, in 1 year, they make a combined revenue of 357 billion.
Hey, Boda Boda.
Boda Boda. Safaricom last year made 250 billion. So Boda Boda is a more powerful force than even Safaricom. They do 22 million rides a day. That is like almost half of the population, meaning every home in one way or another is connected to
Boda Boda.
You get it?
You know, salute to Boda Boda guys. You know?
So the question is,
Yeah.
when you look around the city, what can you point out of significance that has been done by
Boda Boda. Really nothing.
There are a few success stories, but
Yeah.
largely, this money disappears.
Yeah.
And these people actually don't believe that they're empowered. So we actually put together this product that we are calling Jaza Boda Boda, inspired by Kidogo Kidogo, Kujaza Kibaba.
Yes.
So we've engaged the Boda Boda people quite a bit. And I remember one gentleman who stood up and said something that stuck with me. One of the chairmen. He said, tell me, how can a rider move from being just a rider to the owner of a motorbike?
Yeah.
And then from the owner of a motorbike to the owner of a tuk-tuk,
Yeah.
from the owner of a tuk-tuk to the owner of a matatu,
Yeah.
yeah? And from there to an owner of fleet of
Matatus.
Matatus.
Yes.
And right there, we got our aspiration. This is the aspiration of Jaza Boda Boda.
Wow.
Every day, so we structure the product in such a way that every day, the first ride, on average, a ride is 50 bob.
Yeah.
The first ride, they put money in the Jaza Boda Boda product, which is a regulated Charma.
Chama.
Now that 50 bob,
Yeah.
if the 1.4 million people put the 50 bob, in a year, in a month, it will be about 2 billion, just slightly over 2 billion shillings. In a year, it will be about 25 billion shillings.
Wow.
Now, with 25 billion shillings for 1 year, we can start assembly lines for them
Absolutely.
for their own
Locally.
motorcycle.
Absolutely.
We can have car washes, service stations.
A lot.
You can even lend to the government.
You can even lend to the government.
You can buy bonds.
So what I'm saying is, this aspiration is now what we put in the investment plan. The Jaza Boda
Boda
Boda.
boda.
This is the aspiration. We
Wow.
want by this time these people to be able to do these things.
Yeah.
You get, eh? So the first thing that is in our investment is an aspiration.
Yeah.
The second thing is commitment.
Commitment.
Now I'm going through the lessons of Jaza Boda Boda.
Yeah.
The first one is the aspiration.
Aspiration.
The second thing, their commitments. If they don't put the 50 bob, we will never achieve that goal. It demands from you.
Yeah.
Okay? The third thing, there must be growth.
Yeah.
The pace of growth. So we've said we will be growing at about 12% per annum.
Wow. That's a good one.
Okay? That's the third thing that is in the plan.
Growth.
The fourth thing is anticipation of the future value. A vision, a beacon that we are monitoring. See, in 1 year, we should be at 25 billion.
Yeah.
In 5 years, actually, in 20 years, it can be 1.58 trillion.
Wow. The Kenyan budget. Almost.
Tiger Boda Boda rider.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's powerful.
Yeah.
Chamas are powerful,
Yeah.
whether informal or
Formal.
regulated.
You know,
Thank you.
Patrick, this is just being stamped more that, you know, it doesn't matter which sector, there is always something that we can do together. My goodness. You know, Emily, shoot the other one straight very fast because the questions are too many. And I love the people who are tagging and calling each other friends and everybody else who, you know, if you're in a Chama and there's a friend of yours who is in that Chama, they better watch this because at the end of this all, your Chama better rethink and get more strategic in a way. And by the way, Pius, you know, because we're talking about, you know, just a plan, and I want a very quick, short answer to this. There's somebody watching saying, we have a Chama. How do we even get a plan? You know, do you help people get plans? You know, it's just a question. You know.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's an investment plan is like your architectural drawings for your house.
Okay.
You own the house. You will own the house. But you have this dream, I want a 3-bedroom house with every bedroom being master and suite. Those things are in your mind until you involve a professional who pulls it for you in a format that can be used by other players to help you.
Absolutely.
So for example, even if I develop an investment plan for you, you can go with it to any other person,
Yes.
any other fund manager, and go and they will implement. They will understand it. Yeah.
Great. Billy.
So probably as we talk about the opportunities, usually there are challenges that follow every opportunity.
Definitely, by the way, because, you know, I know of one Chama where one member, that round one, the one that Patrick said goes and dies, somebody decided, you know what, nimepata. Shwi! You were never found after some years is when they've amused. Just go ahead.
So Patrick, would you tell us probably from your experience, have you seen what are the challenges you've noticed that really affect Chamas, and probably what the financial sector can provide to address these challenges?
I'll discuss a few because it's a long list and
long.
they also depend on the stage of evolution. Please mark that word, evolution. Because Chamas, in the simplest forms, it's a merry-go-round or just a welfare. And then the whole objective of investment comes second-hand. Except now in the modern Chama, which is mentioned, this is now the modern Chama. It's perhaps 5-7 years old. From around 2 or 2, we've seen more of Chamas that are being formed for specific projects. There are a number. The first one is mentioned. Chamas start without a clear goal, or what I would call a roadmap. So they don't have what they are shooting at the end. If it was about utensils, once you've done a round of utensils, what next? So you start deciding the next thing at the end of a circle. If Chamas were able to actually get into goal setting, clearly have a very specific vision, which is what is called aspiration, with a very clear year 1, 5-year, and 10-year objectives, and then bring in the second area of weakness, commitment. That commitment is a major challenge to Chamas because it means every month something must happen if they are contributing money monthly, or if we are doing what we call a capital call, where we call money for a specific project, then members have to play to it. Those are two key challenges to any Chama that is in the investing space. Now, before they arrive at the space of investing, there was the issue of trust, which has been the primary basis upon which Chamas are formed. The moment you have to rely on the trust by blood, or by belonging to a former school, or by belonging to a church or to a Chama, that trust has some weaknesses. Because until one person misbehaves is when you realize that we thought we were and we are not. And that is being solved substantially by electronic means. Technology is coming in to remove that weakness for the younger people, but for the village-based older generation Chamas, that is still a challenge that stays there. So keeping records and authentic records, how much have I contributed, how much is my worth as a result of my historical contribution, is a problem. I've met as many Chamas that have collapsed or are collapsing, usually at the point I mentioned, 10 to 10 years, 8 to 10 years tipping period. The challenge is we put money here and we've not invested it in a manner that is giving us return. Yet the return was not an objective at the beginning. So just how do you choose investments? Because investment, like is mentioned, is a means to an end. So what's the end? We didn't have the end in the plan. We didn't plan to get ourselves at 100 million. So we bought some land and we bought some shares and we bought some what without asking what returns are going to come from these assets. Even if we are buying them every month, would they take us to 100 million? So the choice of investments initially until such a stage when now the Chamas have evolved, we've taken them through the planning process, they now have some document, and even when they have the document, commitment now comes in. Because I've seen Chamas that have come, done that, we've spent time with them a whole weekend, developed nice looking 3-page, short, clean, easy to do things. But then now the contribution, especially the capital call element for specific projects, fail, and when you fail to do it, then the objective keeps moving. So among others, social dynamics, very key. You start a Chama when you're boys or girls, then 1 or 2 of you get married. The ones who are now couples are now seeing stars that you are not seeing when you're together. Social dynamics is a major killer of Chamas, mainly around friends, because there are things you do when you are still of some age. But one of you decides to get married or to marry when you're still that age, they basically change and start to see things differently. And if that person was an anchor in that Chama will start collapsing. Lately, COVID and meetings, the challenge, and particularly COVID has caused people to lose jobs. And currently, a number of people have withdrawn their savings as opposed to seeing the opportunity that assets are cheaper now. And that points to my final challenge. That ability to, I'll speak a bit of Luo here.
Yes.
To decipher a good opportunity. I can't replace that word, perhaps you'll look for it.
Yeah.
Just being able to, when we have a challenge like we have now in a COVID period, assets are very cheap because some people who did not keep their money well are now having to sell things at below the price, and anybody who has money should be picking. So this is a wealth transfer moment. Unfortunately, because a lot of these people did not plan their lives well, because a Chama is a collection of people, and the individual comes with their individual weaknesses. This is the time when people are borrowing money from the Chama to keep alive. And they're basically changing the whole objective. And if we aren't careful, if Corona stays longer, a number of small Chamas will be beginning from zero. So the list of challenges I can't finish in within this 1 hour is quite a bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
sure.
maybe if I may come in, there's a question that actually you've answered in the process. Just want to appreciate the viewer that is done. And he was asking that, would you kindly advise Chamas on the importance of setting achievable goals that are within members' capability of making savings? And I think you've touched on that,
Yes.
both of you there. Let me just read it all, because he said, from experience, some goals are turning out to be a discouragement to some Chama members due to a very long time contributions before investment takes place. I'm speaking of that Chama formed by determined low-income earners. I think it's more of a question that he was asking about, helping people get achievable goals. And we have told him that, listen, you can seek advice. And you wanted to say something, Mr.
Let
Patrick?
me just say it quickly.
Yes.
It pays to see some quick results.
Yeah.
Not because it is the end,
Yeah.
but it does encourage people.
You're right.
You've seen the Boda Chama in Kitengela and others. Just the very fact that they have been able to build houses as a first step is a key boost to them to now add in that commitment element I mentioned.
Yeah.
So just being able to say we've bought land and given each one of us an eighth, we are now moving to building houses.
Wow.
And then they move in and borrow money and build houses, and people begin to occupy those houses.
Yes.
That changes
Absolutely.
things. So the issue about goals is, I mentioned a 1-year goal, a 5-year goal, and a 10-year goal. If you have achieved the first year goal, celebrate it,
Yeah.
because then it gives you the room to move to the 5-year goal,
Absolutely.
then to the 10 and 15. And that's what it is.
And even motivation
Yes.
to the rest of
So
the
the
people.
investments should not wait for 10 years, because if you're intending to buy property, you can buy shares in the interim.
Yeah.
The question is then, what is your objective? When
Yeah.
would you look for an advice to be able to start putting this money on another asset pending a conversion?
Yeah.
What I know of the school of investing I have been,
Yeah.
they should never fall in love with an asset.
Yes.
You buy it to change its form at the right time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't fall in love
So no attachment.
with assets. Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead. I know there's a question. Josephine, you're the practical person here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question to you, Josephine. Have you ever made a risky investment, and what did it cost you?
Yes. We've actually gone into an investment that we actually saw it was good, but it was risky.
I hope it's not quails, but go ahead.
This is actually about someone who came to us and said he's doing an agribusiness, and he had a very big plan. He had a very big hope, and we did actually invest. We actually put in some money. This is a Charma money. But the person never actually complied to the promise. He never actually paid back. So we ended up chasing this person to a level that we couldn't get hold of him. Now we engage in legal structures again to get hold of him. So yes, it is possible.
Yeah.
When you're looking for an investment opportunities, the risks attached are so big. That business that we went into we actually looked at it. It wasn't really very clear, but we never put a lot of money because we really didn't understand. So that's why it's not really paying, but it is paying because you're involved. Actually, it's money. And yes, we've gone into that, but again, we needed to have really consulted further.
Yeah.
And this is what I can tell Chamas. Opportunities do come, but we need to be careful. It might look so attractive, but we need to do a background check.
Yeah.
And sometimes we look at it in terms of, I know this person. It's not about trusting somebody.
Yeah.
You don't trust someone and put money into that business. Sometimes they change, or many a times they change.
Yeah.
This is one person who was recommended by one person, a Charma member, and we really trusted that this person is known to our Charma member, and for sure we went through, it's a tough time. Now we can't even crucify our own member because, well, this is, it's a risk that we all accepted that if it comes, we shall all pay it.
Yeah.
So sometimes we do trust so much, but I think when it comes to money, you don't need to trust anyone.
Wow.
Yes.
I don't know whether to say Paul Lesana for that time, but I know right now you have recovered. So
Lesson learned in
lesson
itself.
learned, and before we jump into the other part, I just want to throw back, Patrick on the floor, because that's the story of many chamas. A member can bring in somebody so trustworthy, an amazing opportunity, or a member can decide sitoi tena after doing this. Are there any regulations that chamas, that exist that chamas can employ so that at least they are protected, or where are we?
No, this is an emerging area.
Yeah.
So typically the level of regulation is what you call common law.
Yeah.
We do not have specific laws that attach to chamas.
Okay.
And it's an area of capacity development, because what Jocelyn has mentioned in subtle words is we didn't have a good ability to do that cycle, that risk.
Yeah.
Because if we do what we do, which is to bring people that can educate our chamas on various issues, and our chamas involve themselves and begin to move, because with money, there must be involvement.
Absolutely.
Risk analysis is experiential. Sometimes that loss itself is part of the fees you pay, because now when you lose, you must learn.
Yeah.
And of course, if you don't learn, you will repeat. So the question of regulations specific for chamas, they aren't there. But there are, of course, the usual laws that protect us, the Kenyan law. We don't have, it's not a sector that is specifically regulated the way we would. If you invest in the NSC, the regulations touching on the NSC protect you.
Yeah.
If you invest in land, those touching on land, but we don't have any Chama specific.
Chama one that is direct.
Yes,
Okay, I want to bring in Pius. I can see even his mic is ready to go.
I want to contribute to that.
Contribute to that, and there's a question as well, but contribute
Which
to
is
that
fine.
first. Yes.
I think we need to ask ourselves, why Chamas? Why cooperatives? Why SACCOs?
Yeah.
This is not a common phenomenon in the developed economies, but it's very common in the African setup.
Yeah.
And it's the real underlying reason why we ended up with a lot of chamas and all these informal investment groups is because our financial system from the beginning was set up for multinationals.
Yeah.
Sort of. So they were kind of snobbish.
Yeah.
If you remember Equity Bank coming into the
Market.
before it really became successful.
Yeah.
The turning point is when it says we are now the bank of the unbanked population.
Yeah.
The 80%. Until you allow the mamambogas. Can you remember the mamambogas never saw themselves as fit or acceptable in the banking halls. You get, eh?
Yeah.
So people had to find the ways of savings or ways of keeping money, and that was the merry-go-rounds.
Yeah.
You get, eh? And the Chamas, the same thing. Our industry, what we call capital market players, ourselves included.
Yes.
We have not done a good job of being all-inclusive.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been intentional. It's just that it's investment is a very young area, sort of. So but we are getting there.
Yeah.
We are getting there. Why am I stressing this point? What you are calling regulated chamas, the unit trust funds, the structures and the laws are very clear. Let me give you one example.
Okay.
When you invest in a money market fund,
yeah,
the fund manager cannot touch your money.
Yeah.
They can't see your money. Your money goes straight to a segregated custodial account, specifically for client. Now, let me even go further. If NABO even, God forbid, goes under, all the monies to our clients will still be safe.
Yeah.
Because they are separated. They are not even reported in our balance sheet.
Yeah.
You get, eh?
Okay.
This separation is set in the law, and that's what you find these other informal setups where we are struggling.
Yeah.
So I see some convergence somewhere.
Yeah.
And this conversion is actually good because is eye-opening. You say, by the way, money market is a Charma.
Yeah. That's true. That's true, Pius.
So I think we'll end up there.
Yeah.
Because it's the pain points
Yeah.
that lead to these solutions.
You're right, and I see Pius has already answered even the question we wanted to throw to him. So
Which one?
it was actually about, some of the investment groups that, people should look through and all that. I don't know whether there's, I just wanted to throw this because there are also people who say, I belong to a Chama which decided to go through the investment, that you've talked about, some of the groups that they really wanted to go and get, some money out of it or make some profits out of it. Are there things they should check quickly or, traps to avoid so that at least they are not just jumping elsewhere? Because we have quite a number mushrooming, especially now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll answer like the way he answered this question.
Yes.
There's so many traps, including the one that we mentioned. Just lack of an investment plan is a big trap.
Yeah.
But let me focus on one trap.
Yeah.
That always amazes me. It's called I call it the do-it-yourself disease.
Ah. DIY.
You get it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is I don't know whether it's a cultural thing, but it's something that is very much cemented in the fabric of our society, that we want to do something ourselves, 100%, end to end.
Yeah.
You get it? The most difficult people to preach to are the people who go into church because they believe they already know God. How Chamas are formed, because they are social vehicles.
Yeah.
How Chamas are formed, they are formed by people coming together because of a certain pride of success that they have from their own backgrounds.
Yeah.
I'm a successful lawyer. I'm a successful architect. I'm a successful accountant. You get it?
So I know.
I know. So if we come together, we can do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Wow.
The thing that they end up forgetting is that they all have 8 to 10 hour job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, every day. So even if you are willing,
yes,
you cannot bring yourself to actually doing it.
Yeah.
So what is the most common investment by Chamas?
Land.
Land.
Kashamba.
Let me call it what I call it?
Yes.
Idle land.
Land. Yeah.
Yeah.
Idle land. Do you know why? Because number one, they don't have the time to look for assets. Land is a very easy way. It's an escape route. You get it? But the key thing is a biasness to dead assets. It's not intentional.
Yeah.
Live things demand to be nurtured.
Yeah.
Dead things don't demand back.
True.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah.
So idle land does not demand the time
Yeah.
of members.
Yeah.
But when they get to your 8 years, 10 years, say, "Bana, we invested in this land 10 years ago. Nothing. My family has never felt any impact from this investment." Then the discontentment starts brewing.
I want
You
my
get it?
shares. Yeah.
So because of wanting to do things for ourselves and we don't have the time,
Yeah.
that biasness leads us to crowd effect, where you follow what everybody is doing, which leads you to Ponzi schemes, which leads you to idle assets, and then eventually to facing, or rather come to Jesus moment, where you evaluate and you say, by the way, this thing has never done anything that I could not have done for myself.
Yeah.
So for me we have to find a way, we have to find a way of getting Chamas to be involved in what I call live assets. Assets which are working for them, assets which are generating for them, assets which are demanding for them. Okay. If they don't have that, then they would have to go for what I call financial instruments, where they just own a small stake of a bigger thing, where there are other strategic investors driving it.
Oh my goodness, we have run out of time, but I wanted to give you a quick one. I can see your mic is ready. Shoot it.
I think the best for the new Chamas, the Chamas who are thinking of doing something together, they need to do a lot of research to identify that which they really have passion
You're right.
on. It's about passion.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just do or rather venture into an investment because somebody else has done it, but it's not within your passion.
Yeah.
And as the Kenya Association of Investment Groups do educate people, expose Chamas on opportunities, I think it's good to just look around this institution who actually have trainings on the investments.
Yeah.
So before you enter into a marriage, you always have to know your partner. It is the same case in an investment. You need to know your members.
Yeah.
Somebody is coming there for just to check whether you are serious, and if you are not, they pull out. And that is the commitment that is required in an investment. I like our chairman, Mwai. He usually he uses, like when you are going to, you focus to go to Kitale, and you must define the route you are taking, and you must take the passengers who are going all the way to Kitale.
Wow.
And not taking a passenger who is dropping on the way. The buses that goes to Kitale, they don't take the passengers who are dropping on the way. It is the same thing in an investment. Where do you want to go?
Yes.
You want to reach 1 million, then you have to reach there.
Okay.
But to keep that momentum in a Charma, you've got to be transparent in the way you are doing things.
Okay.
That transparency is very key. Good governance is the key.
Yeah.
If members are not involved in what is happening, members they tend to withdraw.
Absolutely.
Meetings, regular meetings to update members on where you are and where you are heading gives the shareholders that trust that they are still alive.
You're right.
And you can move together. As I said, when you are taking a bus to a destination, when you are all together and the driver is okay, you will reach where you want to get.
You're right.
Thank you.
You know, certainly we can't, there's a place that Chamas play that we cannot negate, and it's very ingrained in us, and that's why it's very important to have this particular discussion. You know, we've run out of time, but I have to give a shout out to some of the people here because some of the questions they've asked have already been answered in our discussion. There's Jonathan, who was very active. Thank you so much, and joined the discussion. And he had this question: can one have a Chama and have it registered to enable the Chama undertake investment in financial assets and maintain their structure as a Chama? I think Mr. Patrick addressed that particular issue of registration and the fact that you need to invest in, you know, investments that are registered themselves, so that at least you're protected. So thank you so much for that question. Which one is of more benefit, and maybe is the difference between a Chama and a SACCO in terms of benefit to the members? I don't know. Pius, what can you say in 30 seconds? I saw you smiling. You can answer that. Please shoot it.
SACCOs are usually platforms for borrowing to invest. That a SACCO itself can't invest. The law around SACCO doesn't allow a SACCO to invest.
Okay.
So you basically are pooling money to borrow. Again, the usual methods.
Yes.
But a Chama allows you to pool money together for a specific investment goal.
Okay.
And I think what they need to do is to get the things right. One is leadership right and vision right, what you call the plan. But the basic 4 or 5 things that must be done right first.
Okay.
Then they just take off.
I love that answer. That means a Chama can actually join a SACCO,
Yes,
you know,
can.
so that at least they can even borrow more, you know,
It
by
can
themselves.
and it should.
And it should. Hey.
Yes, because you want to invest like now.
Yeah.
If you have 10 million, you get 30.
Yeah.
Right now, you want 30 million when things are low. You better borrow now and
Absolutely.
get the things now.
Absolutely. Tips for you, Chama people, even me, myself here. Thank you so much, Jose. He said that this is a very interesting conversation. Annette as well. Annette Musabi, Nita City. It's important because wametuma salamu. It's important that they are tuning in, that we mention them all. Thank you so much for all the tags and all these questions that you've sent in. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like us to give a parting shot. That is really what you have felt is the last thing you needed to give as well to the people who are watching. Because they have really heard from you, gotten a lot of advice. And of course, shout out to all those people who are also watching on YouTube. A lot of them are saying we are here. What will be your parting shot? Emily, I believe this is fine. We can just steal 3 more minutes for them. To the people who are watching, people who are Chama members, and especially, because you represent the association, what would be your direct advice, especially to the people who are watching?
I think whether Charma has been there for 10, 15 years,
Yeah.
or the Charma is just starting today,
Mm-hmm.
it's important that they realize that there's need for a Charma to have a plan,
Yeah.
however simple it is.
Mm-hmm.
With very clear 1 year,
Yeah.
5 year,
Yeah.
10 year kind of objectives.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very key thing.
Yeah.
It does create the room for us to see where we are going,
Mm-hmm.
and particularly necessary for the commitment that people need to actually keep bringing money in here.
Yeah.
Like she mentioned, Kitale is not, if you're boarding a bus to Kitale, let us be in a bus of people who are going to Kitale.
Yes.
You're better off with 5 heading to Kitale
Yeah.
than 60, among whom only 5 will head there.
We'll get there.
That's very
absolutely.
key for me.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Lovely. Lovely there. Bias, can I reserve yours for the last? Because I know you might give an example. Don't worry. Anyway, I'm just kidding. So, Josephine, I love the fact that you're so practical here. You even talked about you've been beaten once, But what would be your parting shot, especially the fact that you're in Chamas, you're really ingrained in them, and you're as well, having people watching saying, hey, what do you tell them?
Wow. Investing in a group is the best
Yes.
because you can do so much, and that one thing that you cannot do as an individual, you can do as a group.
Yeah.
But the key thing is, whom are you doing this business with?
Mm-hmm.
Whom are you investing with? So you've got to know your friend, you've got to know your Charma,
Yeah.
Charma members,
Mm-hmm.
and the key thing is to legalize, register,
Mm-hmm.
so that in case of anything, in case of one Charma saying no, you have the rules and regulations set.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to have a structured Charma,
Mm-hmm.
and also just be good governance is the key.
Wow.
Stick to your vision.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Pius, you know why I reserved yours for the last? I know there's a party shop, but there's also a twist to it because you're very much involved in the financial markets. And so in your parting shot, I would like you as well to bring in the element of, your advice to investment groups in Kenya regarding just also investing, in the financial markets if you're a Chama. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Chamas are powerful investment vehicles, undeniable. And I would encourage everyone to come together in Chamas. Where Chamas find it most difficult is in efficient allocation of capital. And that is where investment advisors come in. I think Chamas, if Chamas can work, a Chama that works with a professional fund manager is an unbeatable team. Because one is very good at mobilizing, and another one is very good at efficient allocation of capital. So I would encourage all Chamas to just go that one extra mile and work with the fund management industry. And I think we can turn the story of Kenya into something else. My last point. Every Chama at some point will face this dilemma. Are we a social, is our core business social, or is our core business investment? I belonged to an investment group that we were calling ourselves Friends for Good. And that name came to make us ponder on why we really existed, because we started as a group, as a social group, turned ourselves into an investment group, and then we discovered we were struggling on the investment side, but we were actually having a lot of fun as a group. So we decided our core business is really the social side, and then investment is the side hustle. The other groups, like for example the Transcentury, the group that put together Transcentury, their core business was investing, and the social was the secondary. Every Chama must make that call. Thank you.
Because I think what you're saying is that there must be a way of creating that bond together as well,
Yes.
is it? Wow, I love that. Emily. Tunaanza chama.
I know what to look at
Yes.
when I'm getting into a Chama right now.
Wow.
Clear investment goals. What is the room for growth?
Yeah,
It has to be very clear.
you're right.
And I am so sure right now
Yeah.
that there's so much that can happen when we come together and pull funds together.
You're right.
Yeah. We can even lend to the
It's the
government.
ujamaa thing, is it? We
Yeah.
gotta be together. Thank you so much, gentlemen and lady, as well, for coming and sharing your insights. I'm sure if we went through all the questions, we would have had an extra hour now to discuss this, but I'm sure all our viewers have gotten something out of this. You know, we are talking about investing going digital because we have challenging times where you can no longer just go in, walk in, meet up, but investments, especially in the markets now, has gone digital. And I want to play that video as I tell you, bye-bye for now. Keep investing. Don't lose hope. If you've missed any of our series, just go to our YouTube and Facebook and, of course, get yourself learning. So you have no excuse anymore. Bye-bye. See you.
Investing has now gone digital with the Nairobi Securities Exchange application. To get the app, go to your Play Store or App Store. Download and install the Nairobi Securities Exchange app. Here you will get market statistics, personalized notifications, financial news, and choose your broker online link or broker app to trade from the NSE app. Start your investment journey and keep getting regular updates on the app. The Nairobi Securities Exchange app. Investing goes digital.